Thank you, Ms. Jacobs and Ms. Shenanigans for a great performance. Good morning. My name is Eytan Deener-Agus, and I'm a junior at Gann Academy. I want to thank you all for coming to Gann today. It's always such a pleasure for us students to showcase our school to you. I want to especially thank all my grandparents, Brenda and Jerry Deener, and Zalman and Sandy Agus, all of whom came from New Jersey to be here with me. I'm the second child in my extended family to attend Gann. So by now, for my Deener grandparents, this should be your 5th Grandparents' Day, and for my Agus grandparents, the 3rd again. Hopefully, with the plentiful number of siblings and cousins of mine, the Gann legacy will continue for many years. This past month, I had the honor of being elected president of the student body, a job I'm excited and passionate about. One of my goals this year is to be the voice of the students, to make sure that I, along with my fellow student council officers and grade representatives, listen to the desires of the students at Gann Academy and work towards making their lives as students just a little better. This, of course, is not an easy job, as there are around 300 students at the school. And you know what they say, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. Basically, every student has a different dream and vision about how they want their high school experience to be. And it is our job as a student government to work towards making as many of these dreams come to fulfillment as we can. What's special about Gann Academy is that each student is filled with creativity and a deep passion that teachers are able to bring out in each and every one of us. Unlike other schools, where teachers have their own offices on one side of the school, while students have classrooms on the other side, at Gann, every faculty office is dispersed throughout the student learning areas. Basically, a student cannot walk the halls without peeping into a favorite teacher's office or waiting high in the hallway. We work together as a community to bring each other to new heights. This special atmosphere at Gann has been essential to my success. I know that after attending Gann Academy for almost 3 years, I'm as prepared as I can in entering my last year of high school. I know that going to senior year, the transition year from my childhood to the real world, I will go with the confidence and determination to make a difference in the world, all thanks to Gann Academy. None of this, of course, would have been possible without our honored head of school, Rabbi Baker. Rabbi Baker, despite his national recognition and communal respect, has made a larger impact in my life as being a personal mentor and teacher. I actually have been meaning to apologize to him for some time now. I believe I took something from you and shared it with a few too many people. Remember when I asked you to record yourself singing Hallel so my brother could learn it for his bar mitzvah? Well, I must admit that I think my entire family has listened to it many, many times. And now, whenever any of us lead the Hallel service, we all use your beautiful tunes. So thank you from me, my brother, my father, and the whole rest of my family, along with the entire Gann community, for your musical inspiration and insightful leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, Rabbi Baker.
Thank you, Eytan. I'm teary-eyed now. Thank you. And thank you for your leadership that is just formally emerging as student council president, but you don't get to be student council president without leading in so many other ways. So thanks. And I'm so glad that your grandparents, all of them, can be here. I say this every year, but I have to say it again. How's the sound back there? Can you hear me in the back? Is it too loud? You okay back there? Okay, good. I love this day. This day makes me not cups off podiums. It makes me emotional because Grandparents' Day, I'll start with this and I'll probably end with it, feels like it completes the circle of everything we're doing here. And I can't imagine a more appropriate time to be having Grandparents' Day than on practically Erev Pesach, the eve of Pesach. It happens to be a particularly impractical time to be having Grandparents' Day for those that are cleaning houses, so thank you all for being here. But on a spiritual level and on an educational level, there could be no better time. In some ways, you could call the Seder one big Grandparents' Day. Let me just start by thanking Willie for that beautiful opening. Where are you? Thank you. And for being a friend and grandparent and for all you've done to support the school. Thank you for your words. And I want to thank my dear friends, Harry and Stuart Sherman, for all you've done and continue to do. I'll introduce you at the end. Thank you guys all for chairing this event and for chairing the grandparent campaign. So one of the themes of Pesach is B'chol Dor Vador. In every generation and generation, we are obligated to see ourselves as if we came out of Egypt. And I was thinking about that line and meditating upon it this morning on my way here. And of course, part of the power of that line is actually in this obligation to see oneself as if I myself came out of Egypt. Right? This is the fundamental challenge, as I see it, to Jewish education and frankly to the future of the Jewish people. Right? Which is, as our children get further and further into a changing world and less anchored in the traditions from which they came, how do we keep them not only connected nostalgically or out of guilt, which we're fairly good at doing, how do we actually keep them feeling, this isn't my grandparents' tradition, although that's lovely, this is mine. Yours is actually mine. That is the challenge of Judaism writ large, and certainly that is the goal and the aspiration of the Passover Seder. To make it a night where my history isn't just his story, it's my story. And the power of 4 years of high school education in a Jewish environment where kids from across the Jewish spectrum are all wrestling with that question in one way or another. Whether it's in Talmud and Tanakh classes, whether it's on a trip through Jewish Bosnia, or whether it's thinking about how Jewish values play out on the sports field. These are the most formative years of your grandchildren's lives. They are becoming the human beings they are going to become. And for the Jewish voice to be powerfully at the table during these 4 years is so essential to them feeling like this is my story, my past, my future. So, in the spirit of the Seder, I want to share a thought that I learned from my friend Jeff Swartz this past week. Some of us may buzz through this part of the Haggadah because it's not actually technically required, but it is actually at the beginning of the storytelling. This is the 5 rabbis of Bnei Brak. Some people may be familiar with this. It starts in Hebrew, Ma'aseh Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yehoshua. It's like, for many of us, and this was true for me for many, many years, what's it doing here exactly? It's not the 4 questions, it's not Abad Yimayinu, it's not the 4 children. It's just this little nugget of a story about these 5 famous rabbis from really the big sages. These were the Gedolim, the great ones. And they're sitting in this attic in Bnei Brak, and they're basically having a Seder. You know, they were reclining at the Seder in Bnei Brak, and they spent the whole night long telling the story of going out of Egypt. Until what happens? Their students come to them and say, Rabotenu, Higiya Zman Kriyat Shema Shel Shacharit. Rabbis, teachers, the sun's coming up. We gotta pray the morning service. Now, this little nugget is powerful for a number of reasons. The first is it illustrates how long this Seder thing has been going on, and the fact that even these great sages are inclined all night long to be wrestling and debating with each other. And that wrestling and debate is at the heart of the Jewish intellectual tradition, and is at the heart of what any great high school is all about. Learning doesn't happen because one smart person tells another smart person something. It certainly doesn't happen when one smart person tells someone else that doesn't know as much something. That's not learning. That's transmitting information. Our tradition understands that learning happens when people who know something and have a stake in something are engaged with each other and wrestle with each other and challenge each other and challenge themselves, and then new New things come out of that. That's what these 5 great rabbis are doing. But Jeff Schwartz pointed out something very powerful to me. This is the beginning, really, of the Haggadah. And he says, this Haggadah, the great educational document of our people, and by the way, it's a brilliant educational document. If you want, you could study it as a text of philosophy and education. You would expect that the first actual voice you hear in the Haggadah might be one of these 5 great sages. But in fact, while the Haggadah tells us that the sages are debating, the first voice, the first quotations that we actually hear in the Haggadah is the voice of whom? The students. It's the students who speak up in this text. And what do they say? They actually say, rabbis, it's time to stop studying and get up and do something. 2 incredibly powerful messages. Number 1, study has to lead to action. If we're going to transform this generation to the leaders of the next generation, it can't just stay in their heads. It's got to get into their hearts and then come out into their hands. Rabbi Baker, we got to get up and pray now. We need something even more than that. We got to take our learning and take it out into the streets, and we got to do something to live out our Jewish tradition, of course, but actually to make the world a better place. But the second is, no learning is complete without the voice of the students.